no biased opinion whatsoever for my sheer love of Esper Doom Foretold.
Well, now that we're properly underway, we'll see who manages to come out on top here. Look at the opening hands of both players. Seems decent enough.
Yeah, a little clunky here from Javier, but not too bad.
Let's see how this match progresses. It is a little clunky, right? But you've got that Maze Mine Tome, you've got those Scry lands. You can do some work here.
Exactly.
Mengucci, on the other hand, a hand that doesn't do a lot of that. I'm pretty sure you're happy to see these lands, right? Like, this isn't a fast matchup. You don't need to get on the board too quickly, and Golden Egg is going to give you a little bit of velocity as well.
Yeah, one thing I would say, if you have multiple golden eggs, multiple things that you're progressing to the battlefield, you do want to be using your mana efficiently and just using your mana every turn, whether it's for something great or not. But one of the main thing we're going to see, and I kind of thought we were going to see it this turn, but Javier realizing that Skyclave Apparition is a real thing, so running out your Maze Mine Tome to just get it apparitioned, it feels so bad that the general consensus from great players like Javier Dominguez is just wait till turn 4, so you can at least get some replacement value. As we see here, it would have been a little better, with perfect information to play Tome first, but the players do not have the perfect information that we do. No, and look at that top deck.
If it were me, I would simply play perfectly at all times. But even the people in the MPL haven't quite figured that one out. Yep.
Yeah. You would think that would be where you would start. If you play Perfect Magic, Riley, they would think, like, how can I get to that level?
Yeah.
But, teach his own.
You would think. Corey, you would think, but they don't. Here's a Skyclave Happy app. Let's see what we're going after. And it's going to be, wow, the Treacherous Blessing. Now, this is an interesting one because on the face of it, you think, right, hey, Treacherous Blessing, it does nothing, right? It does nothing. It's just sitting there actually aiding your game plan because your opponents are paying life every time they play a spell. But it's actually so important to get this thing off the battlefield because of the impact that it has if a Yorion ever hits the table.
Oh, yeah. It's so treacherous with Yorion in play that you really do have to contain it in some regard.
So the Skyclave Apparition comes down.
Mm-hmm.
And now Mengu continue to hit those land drops. Another golden egg here. And Solemn Simulacrum.
Yes.
The darling of EDH comes down to search out a basic land.
Yeah, a nice spicy one here. I think the initial lists, we're playing a lot more to the battlefield. They were playing Charming Prince and stuff, so that whenever you got Yorion and Charming Prince loop going with Solemn Simulacrum, you're just drawing a card every time. And one thing I want to back up to, somebody is a little confused. Normally, Skyclave Apparition, you see the spell, you exile under it, and we're thinking, why aren't we doing this? Treacherous Blessing has that special clause where if you target it, it just gets sacrificed. So this interaction will come up now. Normally, you would get that 3/3 illusion right now, but since it does not actually get exiled, you do not have that case for anybody wondering that. I know you were wondering, Riley, so I wanted to help you out there.
Thanks very much, because obviously I had no idea what's going on. I just when I'm playing Arena, I just click glowing random cards, and when I'm commentating on Arena, I just say random glowing words.
You're like a Mad Lib.
That's it. I treat every single game like a Mad Lib. Here's my question with Treacherous Blessing. Do you think that sack clause is on it so people wouldn't abuse it by blinking with stuff like, I don't know, Cloud Shift? I know Cloud Shift only goes after creatures. Momentary blink, right? Or do you think it's there to make it easier for you as a player to get rid of it? Oh, this is so good, though. This is so good.
Oh, yeah, this is nice. I think it is just a little bit of, and the one of Sublime. You can see,
so
and if we look at this matchup, you can see how Javier just snapped that off, right?
Yeah, that was so juicy. Not only do you get the Solemn, get another land, you get to bounce the Doom Foretold, draw a card. Oh, yes, please.
But the reason he got to just snap it off here is because of the design of the Esper Doom list compared to just blue-white. Doom Foretold, an insanely powerful card, Riley, and something that you really want, but you have to build your deck in a certain way that makes you vulnerable at least game one because you don't have many counter spells because you're very incentivized to play to the battlefield.
You got to play a lot of permanents, right? Like, I mean, this is the case with most Yorion decks, but Yorion decks of other stripes do tend to play a fair counter magic suite. You can see the double block on the Solemn here in order to make that Doom Foretold a little better. Obviously, you can't sack the token version of Solemn Simulacrum to the Doom Foretold. But Yeah, the ideal board position for a Doom Foretold player is, your opponent with very few permanents on the battlefield. Certainly nothing that they're happy to sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
And from that point onwards, you just either in the awkward position of having to skip their turn, so the Doom Foretold will proc, or playing out stuff that they know they're going to lose. They're going to lose one of every single turn.
And both of the options are usually bad. Just answering Doom Foretold straight away when it's played, that is the thing that you kind of need to do, because trying to fight into it, Mengucci's deck is full of things that interact as well. So it's not super scary for other people to be trying to play through it. Of course, it can work sometimes, but not often. And it looks like it's time to dance if you want to here with a nice Dance of the Mans. This is a sweet card because it scales up. You get nice value early in the game by sacrificing eggs, bringing them back, and then late game, you end the game. Yeah, so a really impressive card.
Put egg on their face by attacking them with 4/4 golden eggs does feel pretty good. Now, there's that Treacherous Blessing. This is a bit of a lie. I mean, we talked about the fact that it's good that the Skyclave Apparition didn't exile it because Mengu didn't get the 3/3. But here now, Andrea actually can bring it back with the Dance of the Man. So a little bit of a double-edged sword there. Treacherous Blessing. I mean, Treacherous by certainly a very well-named card.
Yeah, and it's kind of a blessing to have that many cards and that many Treacherous Blessings in your hand, but it is exactly that, treacherous. So it makes sense that we're seeing both of them discarded right now.
Yeah.
Okay, just kidding. Ooh, I like this. Okay, so trying to set up for another Dance of the Mans. Javier is a great player and is going to recognize, okay, why would you discard 2 enchantments here when you probably have some extra land? So he's got to have another Dance of the Mans on his mind.
So Elspeth Conquers Death, an ECD in the hand of Javier here, who may want to just fire that off to actually exile the Treacherous Blessing, but that may have been enough with the other one in the bin.
And it actually wouldn't exile it once again. Just another one heading to the bin.
Oh, is it spell and ability? Of course, it's spell and ability. Yeah.
Whenever it's targeted.
Sorry, yeah. Yep. Spell and ability, yeah, of course, because otherwise it wouldn't have been exiled to the... I mean, I knew that. I was just giving you the chance to look really smart there, Corey. So well done on picking up on that.
Thanks, bud. Yeah, you can even sneeze on Treacherous Blessing and it just goes to the graveyard instead.
Yeah, you just look at it funny and it's like, all right, I'll leave. It's like Nor on the Wary. Yeah, just out of here.
Exactly, yep.
All right, in comes the Simulacrum once again across for 2. And here is that ECD. Oi. Get rid of the old Treacherous Blessing there.
To the graveyard. And now we're seeing this game plan where Esper Doom Foretold just wears down the opponents. Javier didn't draw too much counter magic, which is a big problem. That Sublime Epiphany was just unbelievable. And I love this. So normally you see Shark Typhoon cycled very non-aggressively in other decks, right? You wait for when you have value. Esper Doom Foretold is a bit of a different story here. You want to get those cards into the graveyard and you want to really smooth out your plays. Just cycling a giant shark is not really the MO of Esper Doom Foretold because the deck is just so good that's child's play. You get in the yard and you dance it back, and then you got the real goods.
So what's up next here?
We could just be dancing again. That would make sense because this time it's for 6. So here's the big dance.
These do become 4/4s. No? Okay. No, I'll tell you why. The ECD. There was an ECD tax. Yeah. So it actually cost 4 mana to even start casting that spell. So
still pretty solid. But yeah, not insanely ideal. But once again, that dance just came with 5 cards.
Yeah.
5 cards is what you draw.
So many cards here. And Mengu's just kind of like sculpting the perfect hand here. See what Javier wants to do about this one. He's actually got some stuff to sacrifice, and this is one of the shortfalls of Doom Foretold in certain matchups. When your opponent is playing stuff like Omen of the Sea, when they've got a Maze Mind Tome that can tick up to 3 counters and then eventually sack for some value, and they've got Solemn Simulacrum. So Doom Foretold not doing its best work in this specific matchup, and now ECD can come back, bring back that Skyclave Apparition perhaps, and get rid of maybe the Doom Foretold. How do you feel about that?
I feel pretty good about that. I think that's what you want to really lean on. Kind of shocked that we didn't get rid of it because that seems like the scarier card to me. But I guess what we're probably going to see is Yorion blink that ECD to take care of it. That would make a lot of sense. And I mean, this is fine. This is all fine because when Andrea Mengucci sends Javier's Omen of the Seas to the graveyard, they're not coming back with any magical spell like Dance of the Mounts. They're gone, So eventually the value usually gets grinded down if you're the Esper Doom player against the Yorion dice. But that being said, this is a phenomenal turn for Javier.
Yeah. Really nice, a huge amount of value gained off of this Yorion. Exactly what you want when you're playing the old Sky Noodle. And ECD can go after the Doom Foretold, and Solemn Simulacrum fetches out another land. And this goes some way to explain the fact that Solemn Simulacrum was given the nod with the ECD over the Skyclave Appledeap before.
Yep, absolutely. All right, now still under the ECD tax. Been there for years, it seems. We'll be there next turn, probably the turn after that, maybe even tomorrow for Andrea's breakfast. We'll still be under ECD tax.
He fires up the stream tomorrow, and like turn one, it's like, oh no, you can't cast this. It costs 3. It's like, oh, okay,
you bet. Yeah, sorry, you're taxed.
Yeah, you're taxed. It takes the next 4 months. Oh jeez. All right, an ECD in Andrea's hand as well. It's going to cost 7, however.
Ugh. And I mean, here's the thing. There's really no good avenue to double spell here. And that's just disgusting. I think you just have to be containing ECD to make sure you can just have a very good turn the turn after. But yeah, this is not looking great for Andrea at all, especially with that Mimic. Mimic just doing its best, Mimic impression to copy a Yorion and kind of do that double Yorion loop that we've been seeing so often this weekend. Yeah. Basically just a 3-mana Yorion activation, which is even better than just playing another Yorion.
Just a Ghostway, mate.
Yep.
It's an eerie interlude here. Not too bad at all. And now, as my turn, we're going to see Scry here. Of course, it's probably going to be blinked, so you don't mind just burning a counter on a Scry there.
Exactly. Normally, with this much mana, you want to maximize on your tomes to draw a bunch of cards. But yeah, when it's probably going to be blinked out eventually, no big deal.
How much damage is this, however? If you activate the Crawling Barrens, it's 12. So is that enough to... Oh, sorry, it's 10, right?
Well, you can activate it multiple times.
You can activate it again, right? So it is 12, yeah. Or even more, potentially.
Yeah, I think you could activate it 3 times. That Crawling Baron has really been impressive.
Really has. So, it's interesting that Javier was kind of setting up for for another Yorion turn here, but actually is just going to be able to snag... Is it lethal here?
It is
just lethal. It's exactly lethal, even through the golden egg. So Andrea eats a big bowl of carbonara there with that golden egg, but it's still not enough. And so Javier Dominguez wins handily on the back of that Crawling Barrens. We're going to have a quick break here, my friends, and we'll be back with more action between Andrea Mengucci and Javier Dominguez. We'll see you back here very soon. Hello everyone, welcome back to live coverage of this MPL League play. Right now, joined by Corey Baumeister. We've already watched Javier Dominguez clean up in game number 1 against Andrea Mengucci. Mengucci playing this Esper Doom Foretold list. Do you like the card Doom Foretold? I've seen it do some pretty sweet stuff on various battlefields, but Mengu wasn't able to stitch a win together there against Javier in game number 1, Corey.
Yeah, that was impressive maneuvering there from Javier. The big turning point of the game was that Sublime Epiphany. It was just so very powerful, and then lived in the ECD tax world for so long. So yeah, it's going to be a difficult game here for Mengucci to have to win the next 2 games, but sideboard does get a lot better. Mystical Disputes is a nice answer to be able to force through some of these really powerful threats.
Well, I mean, let's talk about the respective sideboards of these 2 players, and maybe one of them is. I mean, my guess, I don't know for sure, but my guess is immediately that Andrea has more of an advantage to be gained from sideboarding than Javier does, purely because Javier's deck is a very well-known quantity, and Mengu will have put cards in order to counter it. However, Javier may not have many cards to beat Doom Foretold.
Yeah, and just looking at Javier's list right now, there's a couple disputes in the board and maybe some sharks that probably come in. Not even 100% sure that Javier is supposed to care about Shark Typhoon, but essentially Javier was already pre-sideboarded for Yorion decks. Javier very much was expecting to play against a ton of those, and rightfully so, just made the main deck what the sideboard would be. So Andrea kind of gets to play a little bit of catch up to get to even footing with a couple of disputes and stuff of his own.
Yeah, I'm looking through Andrea's list right now, and in the sideboard, oh wow, look at this, a bunch of Dance the Manse drawn here, and there's old Skyclave Apple Diap taken out the Maze Mine Tome, but in the board, as you say, 4 copies of Mystical Dispute, an extra Shark Typhoon, another Treacherous Blessing as well, so plenty of ways to move away from the Extinction Event parts of the deck, and here's that Doom Foretold.
Yep.
See Maze Mine Tome Scry.
Ooh, that was a good scry for Javier. That's exactly what the doctor orders. And here's the thing. That was the big play, that Skyclave Apparition on the tome that got essentially no value. Super huge. Now we're seeing a bunch of these Dance of the Mans. They don't look too great. We put a shark in there, but that's the card you want to draw on turn 8, not on, in your opener having 2 of them. But the rest of the hand was good enough that it definitely warrants a keep.
All right, here's the Birth of Miletus, and that's another great draw as well. We're really seeing Javier stymie what Andrea is up to just by playing these sort of like dorky permanents that get a little bit of value immediately and then can just be sacked safely to Doom Foretold. Doom Foretold is not very, like, in any quote-unquote mirror match or any situation where your opponent can actually answer it by just, sacrificing bad cards, like Soul Guide Lantern, for example. It really just doesn't. It's such an unimpressive card. Like if your opponent has unimportant permanents to sack to it, the card just does nothing and eventually becomes a liability for you as well.
Yeah, and I was a little shocked that we didn't see Skyclave Apparition cast immediately last turn to stop the value from Doom Foretold, but I am immediately paid off or reminded why this was a much better play. Got to clean up a few things, but now Doom Foretold is just going to have to sack itself. A little bit of a problem having Doom Foretold in the graveyard instead of under Skyclave Apparition's Exile, just because that's the card you want in your graveyard, right? Because you're going to dance that back eventually, and it's going to be quite good later on.
So some fancy plays here for Javier. We'll see if it comes back to bite him on the bum. There's a Solemn off the top. Happy to see that one, especially as he will want to continue to hit his land drops. But right now, Dream Trawler coming down as a 6 mana 3/5. This card is huge. It doesn't look, the 6 mana 3/5, all right, snore, but gains you life, draws you cards, almost impossible to kill. And this could, if Mengu doesn't find an answer to it, this could end the game very quickly.
Yeah, Dream Trawler is just so very powerful here. Yorion is a nice way to kind of keep up, but with the natural stats of 4/5 flyer, it doesn't line up against an attacking Dream Trawler. So I want to point out something here. Andrea's hand was really bad, but we saw that Treacherous Blessing off the top that just put him right back into this game. And you think, wow, maybe that was a little lucky of Andrea. Nah, he's playing 4. There is a reason why he put 4 of that card in the deck, because it's this good in this matchup. So really great deck building there by Andrea.
The problem here is even with this Dream Trawler coming in for Javier, he's also got the graveyard locked up with that Soul Guide Lantern. So the first dance isn't going to be very good. We've got another Emeria coming down and paying 3 life like it ain't no thing with that Dream Trawler out means that ECD can come down and immediately get rid of that big wet noodle in the sky. So away goes the Yorion as well.
Yeah, that Lantern is a card that I had not faced too much. Not necessarily the stock graveyard hate there. And I believe we only have one of it from Javier, so he probably doesn't believe it's the best card ever. Yeah, but it is so good against Dance of the Mans.
I mean, I think graveyard hate, the more rogues, this is weird, right? Because rogue wants to mill you out. In response to rogues, you want to play cards that are good out of the graveyard or the escape cards. And so that now, like the level 3 of that is graveyard hate is good.
Yeah.
It's super weird.
And honestly, that Lantern is probably pointed at Javier's graveyard more. It can do that, right? It's not just, let me double check that. Don't quote me.
So Soul Guide Lantern says you have to exile a card from a graveyard, but it exiles each opponent's graveyard. So when you play it to begin with, you can get rid of one of yours, but after that, you can't.
Gotcha. Okay, I was gonna say, yeah, it probably would be played more often if you had the option to also exile your own graveyard,
or if it were like a Relic of Progenitus or something.
Yeah, be able to. Yeah, that would be insane right now in this metagame. It's like a Drowned. If Drowned the Lock is on the stack, you just exile your own graveyard. That seems like a nice one. But as it stands, this is going to be a very tough game for Andrea to win here. I think the only option is just Gigantic Shark. And hope that's good enough, which it looks pretty good, but
you will need something very large to get past this this Dream Trawler, of course, because it can attack for 6 at a moment's notice, and even more now with this Maze Mind Tome. Bring back this ECD, bring back another Solemn Simulacrum. You love to see it. All the EDH players there just rubbing their hands with glee.
Yeah,
they love seeing the sad boat put up and about.
I don't know. You say EDH. I say constructed staple like 15 years ago, you know?
All right. Okay, boomer. And here, this may just be lethal here as we see a Dream Trawler with a Maze Mind Tome. And if Soul Guide Lantern can be activated, draw a card here as well. I mean, not to mention there's all these 2/2s, but this is an attack this is an attack that threatens lethal here very, very easily.
Absolutely. And what are we going to see this up to 6? That Soul Guide Lantern might just have to be sacked here to just trade with that giant shark.
Yeah, and that's not bad. I mean, you're still getting in for 4, you're gaining 7.
Yeah, but now Andrea's Dance of the Mans is unlocked, and as they say, you can dance if you want to, and you can even leave your friends behind.
I assume that's a song, but I don't know the song, so
because if your friends don't oh wow,
right. I don't know. Come on. I don't know what's the song?
Safety Dance.
Safety dance. Oh, that's important. Safety is very important. Yeah.
Man,
Hop on your hard hat and do the safety dance, everyone. Put that high vis on, steel cap boots, and just go and shake it.
Okay, Zoomer.
Oh dear, I did my best. All right, so Dance of the Mans here really threatening to turn this game around. But there is a negate in hand here for Javier. So Mengu is going to have to play through the opposing negate with the negate of his own. I think you can see he's really, really putting the old thinking cap here.
Yeah, because we don't have a ton of enchantments in the yard. You can put that egg into the yard, and that's, you don't really have to pay any mana for it. Let's see here, 4, 5, 6. We do have Dance of the Mans for 6 with negate backup, but Andrea's just thinking, okay, what if Javier has 2 counterspells? I'm dead. So if he can piece together some play where he doesn't have to risk that, I think it's reasonable. But let's see if this Doom Foretold even does that, because you can sack Maze Mind Tome as well.
Yeah, sack the Maze Mind Tome. You're still rumbling for 6.
Yeah, I don't know.
Here's an Omen of the Sea.
I don't know. I mean, we sack the egg to gain 3 life. I think that's just what we're locked in on doing. Oh, you remember Seagate Restoration from Marcelo Carvalho?
Yes, we saw Marcelo Carvalho draw 500,000 cards in an earlier game. It was
500,000, yeah.
Yeah, but now it looks like Emeria's Call is going to be kept on the top instead. And Javier, keeping the Emeria's Call, but bottoming the Restoration. So here's Doom Foretold now, and just going to sack the Omen. Makes good sense. You can still get some value out of the Maze Mind Tome. And into our main phase and getting in straight in for 7, excuse me. I think I said 6 before, but of course it is an attack for 7 here.
Oh, this is huge.
So enough to make a shark and block and then go to 5 and end up on 1 life.
And 1 life with Treacherous Blessing is about the most treacherous thing you can possibly have.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Wow, is that... Because then you just can't cast any spells, right? Or
yeah, Doom Foretold can just sack it.
I'll just sack it straight away. Okay, so that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, no worries.
And yeah, we know, every spell is going to resolve here. That's for sure. Yeah, tapped out and at 1.
Tapped out and at 1 with the Treacherous Blessing. Yeah, like your opponent is as F6 as it's possible to be. We're going to see Birth of Meletus go and get a Plains, play the Plains,
negations
and
here.
then make a bunch of Angels. Back to Andrea, sacrifice of the Treacherous Blessing. Couldn't do that fast enough. And now, what's the play for Andrea? I think it has to involve. It has to involve the Dance of the Manse, right? And you know that you can beat. Like last turn, I think Andrea was worried about beating 2 counterspells. He doesn't have to worry about that now, based on the mana that Javier has kept up here. So Andrea can force through a Dance of the Manse with a negate to back it up, or even a Mystical Dispute. But the question is, how safe is he, even with that dance? I mean, he has to be able to gain a bunch of life. He's going to find that tough.
Yeah, I don't really see a window out of this. If the Tome and Birth of Meletus, were not here, and the Doom Foretold actually made Javier sacrifice some creatures, then maybe there's a world. But I think we'd have to Dance of the Manse for 6 to get the Shark Typhoons back, and then have to have enough mana to be able to play Elspeth Conquers Death. That seems like the only thing, and it looks like we're 2 mana short there. I don't see it.
Dance of the Manse, that negate fired off immediately at lightning speed. We'll see Andrea with a negate of his... Mystical Dispute here. Obviously 1 mana cheaper in order to do that.
I guess we can sack an egg. We can sack the egg here, and the thing is, the 2 flyers. The Angels were so very strong here. I think this is it.
Well, you can cast how much mana? Only 2 mana left. Yeah. So if you could cast, so what has to happen here is that Javier has to put a non-creature spell on the stack before he attacks.
Get it negated.
Yeah.
That doesn't even work because Andrea is at 1.
And there's a Treacherous Blessing that's come back. So yeah, anything. I mean, Mengu. So Mengu's out now here, and let's see if Javier sees this line. Right, Mengu's out. Is Javier forgetting to press the attack button? Now, let's see if he does it. I mean, it's 50-50, right? There are 2 buttons. There's attack all and no attack. So it is actually just 50-50 here.
Your internet could also go down.
There is also that.
That's about the only thing I can see here.
Solar flare or EMP, like a pulse that knocks out, the Spanish hardline connection.
Yeah.
Let's see. I mean, anything could happen.
Yeah, I like that he's slowing down here. This seems obvious right on surface value, but these are why they're the best players in the world. They're looking at a list, be like, what on earth could this possibly be? And Mengucci's like, dang it, saw the line.
Saw the line of attacking with the flyers. Oh, dear. All right, in they come. Andrea unable to do anything, of course. He can cycle that Shark Typhoon only for 0, and even that wouldn't be enough if it were for 1, because he needs 2 blockers, and so Andrea Mengucci goes down in straight sets to his good friend Javier Dominguez, the former world champion, showing us that he's still got what it takes to run with the big dogs. Well done indeed, Javier Dominguez. A very emphatic victory with a deck that I know will be very high on the radar for people as we continue to explore this standard format. Standard has been a real treat recently. I don't really remember a time within the last sort of 5 or 6 years that Standard has been this much fun to play, and the results from this weekend have really borne that out so far. So more Standard, of course, coming your way. We do hope you'll stay with us. We're going to have a quick break here, and on the other side of it, more Magic for you to enjoy. So stay with us. We'll be back after this.
Hello and welcome to The Bolt, your rapid-fire introduction to the most exciting players in Magic. And right now I've got Canister on the line. Canister, how you doing?
Pretty well.
Good. We'll get straight into some questions. What is the best color of mana?
Colorless. But that's not a color, but K-Shape produces it.
Do you have a favorite format?
Yes, modern.
Do you have a card that you really hate to see across the table from you?
I get really annoyed by Karn the Great Creator, as it's a card that does a regular thing, but also has a 10% chance to be an absolute killer for your deck if your archetype just happens to be artifact based.
Oh yeah, fair.
So that would be it.
Do you have a favorite color combination?
Blue-green, because it's strong.
Yeah. What do you prefer, aggro or control?
Control, but somewhat like not as hardcore win-conless control as many would prefer.
Is there another player in MPL or Rivals that you think is kind of like your rival in the league, someone you want to beat?
Yes, it's Andrea Mengucci. One day I'm gonna bash him.
Is he the kind of the player who just always gets you?
Not really, but he got me that one time in the finals of the Mythic Invitational last year, and
you got to get revenge.
Ever since that, I'm dead set on taking my revenge.
I'll ask you some non-Magic questions. Do you think a hot dog is a sandwich?
I don't think so. I would typically not expect to ask for a sandwich in a store or a restaurant and get a hot dog.
What's the country with the best food?
Not Poland.
One last question for you. Where can we find you online?
Twitter.com/canister_mtg, twitch.tv/canister_mtg, youtube.com/canister.
Awesome.
Not MTG.
Hello and welcome back, my friends. Tim Willoughby here to trail up the next match we've got going on for you. Now, we've just seen Azorius Blink doing very nicely. Thank you very much for Mr. Javier Dominguez. He was X1 overnight and in spite of a mixed bag today, able to pull one out there against Andrea Mengucci. Now, not everyone has had quite the same record with the list, and some of that comes down to matchups and metagame. This is a relatively compact metagame that we have for our MPL, and that means that occasionally you see great players like Piotr Gogolski, just 2 wins thus far with Azorius Blink, and he now finds himself in the unenviable position of trying to turn that frown upside down, but being up against Seth Manfield. Seth Manfield, obviously one of the more decorated players in recent years in the game, and he's playing a deck that was pretty much designed and brought along to this event because it has a pretty solid matchup against Azorius Blink. Let's have a look at the details of exactly what Gogolski's got going on here. He is a player known for his ability to innovate in new formats, and this is kind of a new format with the lack of Omnath in the mix. But practically speaking, in terms of this particular Azorius Blink deck, no massive surprises in this list, would you say?
Yeah, not really. I mean, this is still pretty stock Azorius Blink that is leaning on a little bit more counters than everything. You know, Piotr with just 2 wins, things are not going his way, but it's not because this is a bad deck or anything like that. It is just a product of that many amazing players. You're playing just Hall of Famers, Pro Tour champions, world champions, every single round. It's just tough. You know, someone has to have a good record. Someone has to have a bad one. So a rough run for one of the greatest deck builders of our generation, as well as players.
Yeah, League Weekend, no easy wins anywhere to be found. And the opponent that he has for himself this round, Seth Manfield, I mean, what is there to say at this point? Seth has done it all. And the list that he's got in terms of Dimir Rogues, he's the player with the most pedigree with Dimir Rogues, because of course he was the person that brought it along to the 2020 Grand Finals and performed very nicely indeed. Thank you very much. So not a massive surprise to see him on it again this weekend, now that everyone's got the memo of how good it is in this new standard format. One Brazen Borrower in the main here for Seth, who appears to be on the Shark Typhoon build rather than the one with Lurrus.
Yeah, and I see a lot of one-ups here, and that's just a product of open deck list to me. It just makes it harder to play around specific things. When you mix up your removal suite a little bit, when you just mix up different counter spells that you possibly could have. And yeah, like you said, Seth was playing Dimir Rogues before it was cool, you know? Seth was playing it back in the Omnath world where it seemed like it was crazy for him to not be playing that insanely powerful card, but did really well with it then. Only makes sense that he would play this kind of Dimir rogues list now that it's even better with Uro and Omnath and all that stuff gone.
Yeah, a good happy amount of counters going on here. A lot of flexibility, versatility. I like the one like Brazen Borrower in the main just because it means that he's got a few outs to whatever spice people might have brought along. But this, as you rightly say, these are open deck lists. For those of you that want to check out the decks and sideboards during the match, either of these or any of the players in the field, go to magic.gg. We've got all of them there. But it means that these players playing with better information than maybe a lot of us are used to in our games of Magic. And all of these one-offs just means that Seth Manfield just gets to, set up shop in his opponent's head and go, can you work through all of these options? Because you're going to have to if you're going to beat me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's going to be a nice match. We've kind of seen these decks a decent amount of times. The top 2% decks in both Rivals Leagues and the MPL. So no secret exactly how these matches kind of play out, but great players. It could really go either way because they are pretty close.
All right, let's head back down to our virtual feature match area. It's Piotr Glogowski, Seth Manfield, and of course, Riley Knight and Corey Baumeister bringing you all the action from this, our round 11.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our virtual feature match area. Glogowski, Manfield, two modern titans of the game here, and two blokes that have a full-throated fan base behind them. Riley Knight joined by Corey Baumeister in the booth, and we're going to get underway with what really, for me, has been the matchup of the weekend. Azorius, Yazorion, and Demir Rogues here.
Yeah, absolutely. Top two decks, like I was saying in the intro with Tim here. So no surprises that these are the decks that are doing well. We are seeing the non-Lurrus version from Seth in the favor of Shark Typhoons. Those are good against Yorion decks because there's not too much great removal outside of Glass Casket for them. So should pay dividends here for Seth as well.
All right. Immediately, the Soaring Thought Thief snapped up by Essence Scatter there. And now Manfield just pauses for a little bit to think about what he wants to do with this turn, whether he's going to leave up 2 or 3 mana. Looks like it's going to be 3 after the Murkwater Pathway is played and ships the turn. So what are we going to see here? Maybe a Shark Typhoon cycle for 1 just to get a warm body on the battlefield?
I think Seth would probably lean on cycling the Triumph first.
Right.
Would be my guess. I mean, if you're going to play an untapped land, there's something going on, right? Like it's either cycle the Triumph or cycle Shark Typhoon. We'll see what Seth favors, but I would imagine it's just Triumph for now to set up that Shark Typhoon as an actual threat later on.
I guess, waiting to cast or cycle the Shark Typhoon when you've got, 5, 6, 7 mana to dump into it.
Yeah, instead of a baby shark, you want to have, that grown adult shark, 4/4/5/5
University student shark at the very least, for sure.
Exactly.
Didn't say please off the top here for Seth, who plays a Temple of Deceit. So he's got some good options. He's got that Brazen Borrow, got the Anti-Cognition, and of course, didn't say please. If only it was so easy. Easy.
And a pretty nice hand here from Piotr, just kind of everything you want. A lot of value early, ECD. Not great here at all. There's not a ton of targets, but it does line up those specific lines where you can play ECD, next turn get that tax going, and maybe play Dream Trawler or something, kind of put Seth in a squeeze there. Something to keep in mind. Or just bring something back that Seth has milled over from ECD already. Maybe even something like a Dream Trawler. We can't really tell exactly what got milled yet.
Over to the sea now, the play here for Piotr. It's going to come down and find a Maze Mine Tome by the look of it. And Castle Ardenvale, the draw for the turn. All right. So both players with reasonable hands here, although Seth is the first one to run out of lands. Is that going to be important here? Does he want to continue to hit his land drops? What's he looking for at the top of the library?
I think he does. What Seth is probably looking for here is just, lands definitely take, happy to be making land drops, but really kind of into the story to get that value going and just restock. That kind of solves every problem. Land drops, refueling your threats, really everything.
ECD.
Interesting here.
For no value.
No value.
Just wanting to put a tax on Seth and maybe bring something back from the yard.
Yeah, I'd be curious what's in the graveyard. I'm guessing Dream Trawler is not in the graveyard. Otherwise, we would probably see this being countered. That being said, we could see Petty Theft into Brazen Borrower, just put that back in the hand. A nice tempo play here. It's what we like to call in the biz trading up in mana. You use your 2-mana spell to bounce a 5-mana spell. It's a nice tempo play, but Seth deciding land drops is a little bit more important. Cycling and get this clock going.
So there's the lands for Seth. They continue to flow. And as we talked about before, cycling that Shark Typhoon at a point where it is actually a respectable threat now. It's a 3/3 flyer. That is an actual clock.
Yep.
One a little less impressive. So, yeah, Seth playing this one, obviously, as well as you'd expect.
Yeah, Seth Manfield usually not making too many mistakes, and this is no different here. That's for sure. See if we just get another ECD down just to keep the same play, but we're not under the ECD tax right now. Ooh, this is an interesting one.
The Maze Mine Tome. And Seth does have the option to respond to this with a I didn't say please. Of course, Anti-Cognition can't go after that. But it's going to resolve. There's the land as well for Piotr. So we talked about people wanting to play Maze Mine Tome on a turn where you can activate it here. Maybe less important in this matchup, but being able to play the tome and immediately snag a card off it certainly does make you feel very, very good about, getting a card like that to resolve.
Yeah, it makes you feel just like the art of the card. Pretty big brain, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Actually, that was a huge pickup.
That brain is pretty large. I mean, we don't get the best look at the person's head behind it, but it does look like a pretty big brain there.
Yeah, no kidding. And I mean, when your brain's in the books or when your head's in the books that often, you're gonna get some brains.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Kling was a great pickup, though. Just that constant flow of value. Whether you can only cast it twice, that is still just enough. A very, very strong card here.
Let's see what Gogolski wants to get up to here. Piotr, of course, well-known and well-respected player, often casts himself as the villain of competitive Magic. He does love to be the heel. And he's going to cast another ECD here. This one could have destroyed or exiled, I should say, the Brazen Borrower. But Piotr forgot his manners. He didn't say please. Or did he?
Ooh.
That's not really what your parents are teaching you. Like when they say, what's the magic word? And you say, you say please. Like, you don't just say negate.
You're right. I have never said that to my mom. That's
like, yeah, where when your mum goes, what do you say? You don't go negate, cancel, give me the thing, please, mother. Listen, Spawn Point, I've had enough of this. I'm not going to use my manners. All right.
Yeah, I have not said negate to my mom. I'd probably, go to my room without dinner if I said that back for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, we're going to see Cling to Dust here in response.
Oh,
finds a Drown of the Loch. Oh, wow. Very nice.
Huge pickup.
Yeah, that's enormous. And now Seth Manfield in the role of an angry parent saying, no, you will respect my authority. You will use the magic word, young man. Go to your room.
Nice South Park.
So we see they didn't say please resolve, and ECD does not hit the battlefield.
Now what Seth really wants is into the store. If he hits that too, that is the ultimate comeback here, but not to be. But this is a quick clock.
Yeah, it really is. Look at this.
Really quick clock.
This is going to be done real fast here with these 2/3 power creatures getting in.
Now, granted, we do have a lot of options from Piotr next turn, as well as this tome getting up there to gain some life. But Skyclave Apparition, Amiria's Call, Omen, and just playing Yorion from the Companion Zone, all options here. So we'll see what Piotr chooses to do.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, this Amiria's Call can shore up the skies, and I mean, he's got to think about the two cards that are in Seth's hand, right? Mm-hmm. Like Seth's been sitting on these cards for a long time. That anti-cognition, I think was in his opener. And
that's why I tend That's why I tend to really like this. This line is nice. Like playing Skyclave Apparition, playing that land, being able to play Omen of the Sun, as well as draw a card from Tome. That kind of insulates away from just one counterspell out there. At least Piotr gets to play another thing. If you just go for Amiria's Call or you just go for Yorion, it's a little rough. In hindsight, with perfect information, Amiria's Call was by far the best play there because it was uncounterable. And that would have been insane. But that doesn't mean it's the correct play. And in fact, I think that is the probably one of the worst plays you could make here. Just looking at Seth's deck list, he has a lot of counter spells. But in hindsight, Amiria's Call here would have been excellent.
Based on the information you have, and this is something that I think not just Magic players, but just humans generally suffer from, the idea that you make a decision that is correct based on the information you have, you get punished for it, or it goes badly and like, oh, that was a mistake. And no, it wasn't. It wasn't a mistake. You made the best information possible with you made the best decision possible with the information that you had. Yeah. That doesn't make the decision wrong. It makes the outcome bad for sure, right? But that's not, I think there was some easy way to to prevent people from thinking about results or like have their thoughts oriented around results.
If you told me I should be results oriented, I should have that kind of thinking. I believe you just said that earlier today.
You can't prove it. No one else would have heard it. There's no recording of it, so you're never going to. You'll never prove it, Baumeister.
Okay. I won't argue with you.
Yeah, exactly. I got away with it once again. Cling to Dust now, getting flashed back, getting escaped from the bin. And this time going after that Essence Scatter. And I think just here, Seth wanting to continue to draw cards. That's really what he's looking for.
Absolutely. You would have got away with it if it wasn't for those meddling VODs, huh?
That's very good. Yeah. And an Omen of the Sun coming down as well. While Seth is tapped out, Eliminate and Soaring Thought Thief here. And the Soaring Thought Thief can turn up the heat a little bit.
Yeah, and
Thief God Enforcer doesn't have a great attack into the Omen.
Soaring Thought Thief was like a really great card to keep on top before we knew about the Omen of the Sun, because it was able to, beef up that Thieves Guild Enforcer. As I say that, it would have Death Touch anyways to get through the wall, so I guess that's not the biggest deal. But, boosting up the Brazen Borrower here. And then, I guess you could have eliminated the O4. So that Omen of the Sun was very much real in keeping Piotr alive.
Yeah, and that's why the surgical timing there from the pole saw it played at the opportune moment while Seth was tapped out. So there's the attack. Piotr down to 2. And here is the Amiria's Call. And now, while this makes everything else indestructible, it doesn't make the Angels indestructible, so Eliminate can take care of one of them. Let's see if that's what Seth opts to do here with this Eliminate that's in hand. No, instead just going to activate the Castle Vantress, use all of his mana here. Very effective use of mana.
I like that.
Heartless Act off the top. That's it.
That's got it. So the Maze Mind Tome can gain 4 life, so we need to keep that in mind.
Is there? Because you can just scry. Of course, you don't need to draw a card yet.
Yeah, but that is still. I still think one of them was enough there. Taking 5. No, actually, we needed.
You survive at 1. You survive at 1 without an extra.
Nice
so really good stuff from Seth, who scryed into the second removal spell in order to force through lethal, even through the Maze Mind Tome, not missing a trick, and that's exactly what you expect from a player of Seth's caliber. I'll tell you what, he knows how to play a game of Magic, even if he doesn't know how to align a webcam. And we move now to the sideboards, where we're going to see things become a lot more interactive. As look at this, all of these counter magic, these pieces of new counter magic are brought in.
Yep, taking out some spot removal. Spot removal is generally not that great against Yorion, just because you already gained the value off the card. Which is why I was even a little interested in the decisions that even our last match, Andrea Mengucci played a lot of spot removal, really wanted to be good against these aggressive matchups and kill different rogues as well, I would assume, but not the best in the Yorion mirror, of course, and that's why we see the black removal come out here from Seth.
And this counter magic is going to be really important in contesting the stack, and something like that has really... an understanding and a learning that I've taken away from this weekend so far is the fact that the backup plan for the Rogues deck is actually much more robust than I first imagined. I hadn't seen a lot of beat down finishes from the Rogues list, but the Thieves Guild Enforcer plus the Soaring Thought Thief they actually get in there a fair bit. They can really really rough you up, and so I've been impressed. I've been impressed by the performance put on. I mean, I said from the beginning that I was expecting the Rogues deck to do great things, have a positive win rate and all the rest of it, but I certainly have learnt some stuff just about like how this deck can close out games that go beyond the plan A of kind of mill the opponent out while 1-for-1ing them with counterspells removal.
Totally. And if we're talking about that type of game plan, look at this hand from Seth. That is exactly what this hand wants to do. Yeah. Shatter the Sky is a card that I would imagine Piotr does not want to bring in. So when these cards get to go really wide and we see Piotr just keep somewhat of a sketchy hand, just a temple castle on the play, that castle is going to be a tap land as well. And then bricking on the land, luckily hitting it here off this cycle. But you got to think that Seth is just thinking, I want to be on the aggressive here without seeing Skyclave Apparition or Glass Casket here. It might even just be time to jam with that Thought Thief.
Yeah, just go full beatdown mode here. I don't know if this is enough. How many cards? 6 cards already. Yeah, so a Soaring Thought Thief would actually be enough, right, to juice them up to 4/2s?
Yeah, and I think even 7 with a cycle of the shark, right? Because the one is 2, the second one is 4, so that's 6, and then the shark cycle would be 7. So yeah, that's an option to boost them up here. I like the conservative play here.
Really?
Yep. Definitely, because then you're opening the door to Skyclave Apparition, Shatter the Sky. Think if he did leave in Shatter the Sky and you play out a creature and you get shattered. Here you have Drawn in the Lock to counter something. You have Negate to counter something as well.
Yeah, and you're setting up a next turn, right?
Now. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're setting up next turn where you can have a Soaring Thought Thief plus backup Drown the Loch and Negate. So yeah, actually, the more you think about it, that was the right time to cast it. However, Mystical Dispute is going to counter the 2/3, but that turns both of the Thieves Guild Enforcers into 3/2s. So now the clock has really sped up.
Yep.
It's tripled, or no, become a third, I should say.
The math is unfigure-outable.
It's unfigure-outable.
Yeah, it's the same with the Omen of the Forge and 5/5 Sharks. We don't have the capabilities.
We don't have the technology.
Yeah.
We don't have the technology.
Really? Are we going to let this resolve when we could counter it plus leave open another counter? Oh, okay. Brazen Borrower to just tempo out this play. I like that.
To disrupt the double block here, we're going to see Petty Theft on one of those 1/1s.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is fine. It's an unexciting play, but it's certainly fine. It's enough to make sure that the impact had by the Omen of the Forge or the Omen of the Sun is as minimal as possible. And now Drown in the Loch will deal with whatever Piotr wants to cook up this turn. Skyclave Apparition.
And just not getting another untapped land for Piotr. It honestly, you hate to blame some of these losses on some bad luck, but Piotr has been getting some variance, and you can kind of see he looks just visibly distressed a little bit. It's frustrating when these kind of little things that, like drawing a Triome when you need an untapped land, not drawing that third land after you have a temple and stuff. Those things are really frustrating when you play this long of an event, and these very small interactions matter so much against the best players in the world.
Here's Yorion, and look at this, just the juiciest target for this Mystical Dispute. We've talked all weekend long about how bad Sorcery Speed blue cards are against Mystical Dispute, and we see there just how bad they can be. I mean, maybe Piotr felt that his hand was forced there and having to cast just get something going. But right now he's in such bad shape. There's a Negate in Seth's hand. He's got Salundi Vision as well to try to find something else. Brazen Borrower as well in case the threats on the battlefield weren't enough. It's all coming up Manfield. And he's looking good for a 2-0 sweep here. Piotr Glogowski going down 2-0. Seth Manfield, Dimir Rogues, unstoppable in this match. So well done to Seth. A well-deserved victory and a quick one too, with a deck that sometimes can really take its time in closing out matches. Really impressed, needless to say, with the American Hall of Famers play there. Well done, Seth.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice play from the Rogues deck. Piotr just could not get anything really snowballing and get anything going here. So a little frustrating from his side, but yeah, 2 just titans of the game playing. So it's that kind of stuff is going to happen. That's for sure.